In less than 2 weeks, the ranked season will be over to give out seasonal rewards. Some have already met their goals, while others are still going for the final push. After this, pre-season kicks in for a few months before Season 5 begins. A whole new set of changes, including an updated Summoner's Rift and huge changes to the jungle, will be progressively implemented into the game. This is the time that everyone starts experimenting new stuff, finding what's now stronger due to the changes, what's not so good, what's flavor of the month, etc. For myself, I've given up on ranked already, at least for the time being. I'd like to think that I completed one of my goals, since all my 3 accounts are in Diamond, despite not being able to reach my ultimate goal, which was to have them all in Diamond 1. But there's always next season, so I started this pre-season era, so to speak, a bit before most people. One thing you all probably know about me is that my champion pool is extremely small, and I like to play my comfort picks. I play a lot of Kale, and when I'm not playing Kale, I'll usually be on Skarner or Karma or the occasional Xerath. The point here is that I have a small champion pool, and while that isn't necessarily a problem, I want to step out of my comfort zone and try new stuff. So based on my small champion pool, I've made it my pre-season resolution, kind of like a New Year's resolution, to start picking up more champions. I haven't had much time to play, but I picked up Diana and Victor. Diana came from Incarnation's AMA. On his AMA, I asked him, and I quote, "Is there any champion you feel is underrated and has yet to hit the competitive scene? If yes, which and why?" To which he answered, "Diana's also a really strong pick if you build her a bit more like an AP bruiser with Rod of Ages into Zhonya's. Really low mana cost and high base damages make her very potent as a mid and top laner." I decided to give it a shot on top lane, not mid lane, because I think Rod of Ages stackers fare much better on top lane, and he was actually right, it's a really fun pick. With a more tanky build, Diana becomes an engager instead of an assassin. The health from Rod of Ages and the armor and stasis active from Zhonya's allow her to go in and engage with Moonfall. Pale Cascade along all her tanky stats allow her to negate a lot of damage, and if she's in trouble she can always use her stasis after going in. If you want to try it out yourself, the build is pretty simple. You start getting your Rod of Ages components and finish it as soon as possible. However, and if necessary, itemize against your laner. If he's AD, get Seeker's Armguard. If he's AP, get a Negatron Cloak. After you finish your Rod of Ages, these 2 components I mentioned before build into either Zhonya's Hourglass or Abyssal Scepter. Ideally, against a balanced team composition, you will want to have 2 because they're both really good on Diana. If not, if you're playing a full AD team, you might not need the Abyssal. Other than that, other items, if you want to go for my tankier Diana from there, Randuin's Omen, Frozen Heart are excellent on her. Shields scale with resistances, so it's fine to prioritize those over health. If you want sticking power, Iceborne Gauntlet kind of also does the trick. Cooldown reduction increases her mobility via her QR combo, and Sheen Procs does give her more damage. If you want to go for a more heavy AP build, both Deathcap and Lichbane give you a lot of extra damage. Even when going for a tankier Diana though, Void Staff is still pretty much necessary, so don't forget to pick that up. The other pick I've been trying out is Victor. His kit and playstyle have always interested me, but the way his Death Ray works kept me from playing him. But it's not that hard to use once you practice it a bit. While playing the typical full AP Victor is fun and has ridiculous amounts of burst, I decided to try Victor on top lane, playing a more bruiser style mage. And this came basically from watching Quas play top lane, since he has a very interesting and unique approach to how he plays top lane and what champions he chooses to play there. So instead of maxing Death Ray, I go for Siphon Power, which gives me a stronger shield, a bit more damage, and a much lower cooldown. This allows you to always have the upper hand when trading, as the shield will allow you to mitigate damage returned by your opponent. It's also a great harassing tool early on because the shield will mitigate minion aggro. As for build, I go for a more tanky route, getting a Seeker's Armguard if I'm versus AD, and a Realize Crystal Scepter. If I'm versus an AP champion, you can usually get the Realize earlier, and normally you won't need a designated magic resistance item unless they're really heavy AP. Regarding HEXCORE augments, I usually enhance my Siphon Power first. I usually buy the HEXCORE for the enhancement after I get Realize, but I might go for it before if I invested in an early Seekers. Augmenting your Siphon Power allows you to kite better with the added movement speed. More often than not, you'll be facing a melee top laner. After this, and after completing your real ice, kiting becomes very easy to do. Every time you use your siphon power, you gain 30% movement speed and slow your enemy for 35%. After that, I'll usually get Zhonya's and Void Staff, and in between, I'll be getting HEXCORE upgrades depending on my need for them. You can upgrade your Def Ray 2nd for more wave clear and damage, or Gravity Field for more utility. The Implosion effect is very strong for teamfights. To finish off the build, you can go for anything really. You only have one more item slot because of your HEXCORE, so it's basically usually a choice between Death Cap to further enhance your abilities, or a Lichbane for more bursts of Q. Rellenomicon also works with the added CDR, but personally I prefer grabbing the CDR boots and not getting any CDR items. The rest will depend on how the game flow is going. Liandry's is also surprisingly good, especially if you went for a Royal Eyes. Anyways, the point of all of this is to encourage all of you to try new stuff out, especially those who are like me and don't usually step out of their comfort zone. Preseason is a great time to test new stuff out before the rank ladder resets for Season 5, so go get into some games and experiment new stuff. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you guys in the Rift. Shakarez signing out.